Our last tessellation is the reflection tessellation. Has a few more cuts to it, a little bit more complex, but the last one. All right, need tape, pencil, scissors, paper to draw on, and a square. So when we start off with this one, we are going to label all four corners. I'm going to go A, B, C, D. Now I'm going to do the exact same design that you see in your example worksheet so you can see how that one goes. All right, so I'm going to start off on corner B. So this one's going to be different because it's not going from edge to edge or corner to corner anymore. This one's going to be different. I'm going to do a cut, maybe about there, on the B side. Let's cut that out. All right, now before I tape it anywhere, I am going to reflect it. So I'm going to flip it over on top of D. And I'm going to line up my corners and I'm going to trace it. This will give us two identical cuts. So I flip that back. You see how I flipped it onto that spot? And I'm going to cut out D. All right, now that I've cut those, we're going to just do a regular translation. So I'm going to slide these two to the other side. No flipping, no turning, just slide them over. I'm going to line up my corners and I'm going to tape it down. All right, so B is next to A and D is next to C. Now we are going to do another cut on the DC edge. I'm going to reinforce this side a bit with tape because I want to make sure that that edge between D and C stays together. I'll show you why. There we go. So this next cut is actually going to come up in this area. It's going to start in D, cut into C, and come back down. I can't draw it because there's tape there, but it's the same that's sketched out in the instruction sheet for this one. So I'm going to cut that out. So you see how I cut out some shape in D and C there? Now, I'm going to translate it or slide it up to the top, and then I'm also going to flip it over so my letters are gone now. And lastly, I'm going to slide it up to this front corner. So again, let me repeat that. So I started here. I slid it up to the top, I flipped it over, and then I pushed it forward. So it's going to go on that front corner. It kind of looks like a fish. And I'm going to tape it down. Now I could tape it down anywhere along this edge and it would be fine. I just happen to like it on that front corner. Your call though. Tape it. All right. This is how this template ends up before we trace. Okay, so for tracing, slide my paper up there. I again like to go with a bit of an angle, not just straight. I think it's a little bit more interesting to look at. Your call. Hold it down and trace it just like normal. Alright, now that it's traced, I'm going to continue tracing it. So if I just slid it forward, it's going to line up. So I'll just go in a row this way, because if I slide back, same thing. And then when I go to the row after that, you're going to notice I'm going to have to flip my design backwards. So that way this little tail fin spot can fit in. And that's just going to slide forward and backwards that way. So I'll go through this quickly and come back when I finish. There we go. Finished tracing the reflection tessellation. Now this one definitely gives you some straight rows to go from, but it's a lot faster with tracing because of that. You can mix this one up a little bit. If we think back to those first steps where I cut out the B and then I traced it by flipping it here, these two don't have to be the same. They could be different looking. As long as you line up those corners over here, so that B and A and the D and C over here, as long as you line up those corners and the edges, they could be whatever sort of shape you want. This doesn't have to be a fin shape. It could be whatever shape you want. But the whole point is you cut out something and flip it backwards when you go to the top, so that way when you trace it, the design flip-flops going one direction, then the other direction, then one and the other. And if you slide over this cut instead of just going straight up, it also makes it so they're not lined up. If I just flip this up to the top, this would create a checkerboard with a bunch of lines. The fact that I slid it over makes it so they're not as perfectly lined up, makes it a little bit more interesting. So this is the reflection tessellation.